It's your daily dose of Donna, and welcome to the show. Today is Tuesday, September 5th, also known as the Jeff Lewis Reckoning. Wow. We have so much to get into today. I can't even believe that this is how we're starting the week. Whoa. I can't believe this is how we're starting the week. It has been such an intense few days of this drama that we're going to talk about. And I want to give you guys today I was on the phone with a friend of mine who's a podcaster. And I was like, I'm just going to, she suggested this because I know that you guys are very triggered by these two people. You're very triggered by Heather McDonald. You're very triggered by Jeff Lewis. And it feels weird that as a 42-year-old person, I'm sitting here and talking about it. But this is what the show is. We break down pop culture events. And I know I am definitely a huge fan of listening to these shows. And this is crazy. It feels like as if, we're watching like the big, Johnny Carson and David Letterman, like going at it on their shows. We would all be talking about it. It's insane. So if you are here and if you are new here, my name is Donna Bowling. I do the show Daily Dose of Donna 5 days a week. I'm so grateful for all of you guys that are here, that are subscribing, that are following. The show is killing it right now because of stuff like this, because you guys are all interested, just like me. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, Daily Dose of Donna, we have a really safe place where you can talk about your issues, your situations, your feelings on these things, as long as it's not horrible, mean, insulting, and we have a lot of fun in there. So make sure to join. Now let's get to it. I'm going to make this as fast as possible because we have a lot to talk about today. I did a show yesterday, and for those of you that did not listen to yesterday's show and need a little bit of a background, yesterday at the tail end of my show at about 31 minutes, I start talking about the Heather McDonald, Jeff Lewis, Justin Martindale of it all. If you guys don't know, if you guys don't know what's going on specifically with this, hold on. I'm just going to do one thing really fast. I'm going to come right back in, you guys. I'm coming right back in. So if you guys don't know what's going on, Heather McDonald and Justin Martindale had a public falling out last week, okay? They had a public falling out when Justin Martindale spoke very, very loudly on his podcast, on his free podcast. And I say that because I do think that's an important part of this. He spoke loudly on his free podcast about the idea that he and Heather McDonald are no longer going to be friends and are no longer going to be working together on Juicy Scoop because he didn't like a variety of ways that he felt she was treating him. And the list goes on. I've done an entire episode about this already. Go back, start listening to Wednesdays of last week. Thursday of last week, Friday of last week, and then yesterday, if you want to hear where we're coming up until today. Okay. Last we know is that over the weekend, Heather McDonald released her emergency Patreon. This was Saturday afternoon, where she basically says in this emergency Patreon, she doesn't name any names. She doesn't name she doesn't name Jeff Lewis. She calls him a radio host. She doesn't name Justin Martindale. She calls him a former guest. She basically calls out the whole story of what really went down with Jeff Lewis. Okay. Essentially how she had told Jeff that she doesn't want Justin to be on his show. And it doesn't really matter. Like, I understand that there's a lot of timeline issues, like, well, it was before this and then not after that. But I'll get into today why I don't think it matters so much. I think that I would okay. My YouTube and my podcast audience are going to kill me for this, but my loyal TikTok watchers are saying I'm freezing, so I'm working my butt off to try to multitask. I know you guys hate this, but this is what I do. Okay, so she talks about the timeline of it all, of when she wanted Justin on her show and when she didn't want Justin on her show or on Jeff's show. Now, Jeff responded on Friday saying, I don't want to be dragged into a lie. I did have this call with Heather. She did tell me not to have Justin on my show. And then I told her, well, yeah, I wouldn't really want Doug to be on your show all the time also. Okay. So this went on and on and on. Saturday, she releases this emergency Patreon after Jeff Lewis Sirius radio channel Instagram account posted this one screenshot of Heather's Patreon where someone said, Jeff is the center of your problems. I would step away basically from being close to Jeff Lewis. And Heather McDonald said, I agree. And that's when they posted that screenshot on the official Sirius Radio, Jeff Lewis channel 789. They said, she said on it, or like whoever wrote it said, with friends like these, ... at Heather McDonald. That's all we knew. We thought maybe, is it Alyssa? Is it Kian? Like, who was it on Jeff's team that posted that? Well, we have the answer today. Okay, so all weekend long, now I'm going to tell you a few things, you guys. A few things happened, so you're going to want to stick through this episode because a few things happened outside of what I'm going to recap that you guys are going to want to know. So just make sure to stick through this and be patient with me because this is all super, super, super live, like just happened. It's 11 a.m. and the after show just ended 8 minutes ago. This morning, Jeff Lewis comes onto his show, Labor Day weekend. He has Elizabeth Rome, I think I'm saying it right, as his guest, which I was like, shh, stop talking. Like, stop talking. I really, really want to hear what Jeff has to say. And she kept cutting him off and being like, I had a friend that was like this. I'm like, no. This is not the time. We just need to hear Jeff get it out. And then, of course, the lovely and amazing Doug Buden, who I just think Doug is just a breath of fresh. Love him so much. Jeff Lewis did not hold back. Jeff Lewis went so deep and hard. That just sounds sexual, but you know what I mean. Against Heather, that I was like, I couldn't move. I was listening in my kitchen. I was like making myself lunch for later, and I just stopped. And I was like, this is great. Is this what? Like dying. He straight up says at the very beginning, I'm gonna, let you guys know what's going on. Heather McDonald and I are no longer friends. Okay. He said, I don't understand why she had a problem with me, but clearly we had some things to work on. I had her back on the show a couple weeks ago after we were on Watch What Happens Live. I gave her a platform where she was able to explain what went through, the Megan drama and the Megan story. Even though she said she would never go on the show, she was very, very loud about the fact that she'd never go back on Jeff Lewis Live. But he thought that they had a great show. And this was last week. And was this last week or 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday. And then she went on her Patreon that Friday and she compared Jeff to Chelsea Handler and essentially a cult leader. And the episode was titled, Why Do People Bully? So Jeff didn't like that. Jeff didn't like that. Like, I brought you on my show. I did not go hard on you. I was very, I gave you that platform. It was a very, nice and lovely episode together, I thought. And then he felt like she immediately went and turned it around. Then he turned it around. Well, Liz said this. The guest said, well, it sounds like she's the bully. And Jeff goes, she is the bully. Heather McDonald, remember what I'm telling you is just the facts of what I heard today, okay? This is not personal opinion. Heather McDonald is a bully and then plays the victim and changes narratives, okay? So then he said that overall she talks negatively about Jeff Lewis on the Patreon episode. And then what happened was Jeff said, I have some really great cult-like followers, he was joking, who sent me screenshots of her not only liking comments on the Patreon talking badly about Jeff Lewis, but also agreeing. And he said, I know she's going to kind of go into this story that she had nothing to do with it. And she just like by mistake liked to comment. He's like, but you can't play that game when you actually write. I agree. He says, I would never do this to her. I would never, ever like and agree to comments of someone who was my friend. If I don't like you, and if I am, specifically not a fan of yours, yeah, sure, why not? But not if we're friends. And he's like, I thought we were friends. So he was really, really upset about it. He doesn't understand what he did to warrant this animosity, this like turnaround animosity towards Jeff when this started with the Megan and started with Justin. And he felt like this is really just out of left field. And then he brought up Crystal Lamas. And this is when shit got so intense. Okay. He said that, Oh, wait. First he said that he actually unfollowed and blocked Heather McDonald. I couldn't believe it. Because remember I said to you last week, I said, or yesterday, I can't remember, I said, I don't think Jeff did that because I don't think Jeff is like super Instagram, like friendly or savvy. Nope, he did it, which was shocking to me. Shocking. Then he said, Krista. So Krista Lamas, for those of you that don't know, Krista Lamas is a mutual friend or was a mutual friend of all of theirs, right? Heather's, Jeff's, and Justin Martindale. But Heather and Krista had a big falling out in April because they went to Mexico. And in Mexico, apparently Krista went to Heather and said, why don't you pay your Juicy Scoop guests? I.e. Justin, right? Justin was on the show 33 times over 3 years and was never paid. And Jeff Lewis does pay his guests, all of them the same. They talked about it today. And a lot of these guests don't need Jeff Lewis's money. Like a lot of them are well off or well off enough, but he always gives them money to come and appear on the show. He takes them out to dinner a lot. He definitely treats his guests really well, I think. That's a personal opinion. I think he does. But then he said Krista Lamas, who now doesn't have a relationship with Heather anymore, but she does have a relationship with Justin and Jeff. He said Krista Lamas knows where all the bodies are buried. I was like, oh gosh. And this is the craziest part. So first of all, okay, there's so much to say here, but essentially he mentions at this, and I'm just going in order. He said that Krista Lamas, it's like Heather McDonald was on Jeff's show and said, I don't know how much, like, because he asked when you went on the Patreon episode to talk about your drama with Megan, how much did you profit? Did you make a lot of extra money from that? And Heather goes, I don't know. Well, look, obviously, when you were listening, I was listening. There's absolutely no way. There is absolutely no way that she didn't know if she profited from that. Because, like, if you're a business person and you're on Patreon, you're checking to see if you're making more money one month or whatever. I mean, you should know that, I would think. Well, not only did she say that she didn't really know, apparently, according to Krista, she knew exactly how much, which we found out in the after show. Apparently, she was making an additional $30,000 to $40,000 per month on Patreon off this Megan drama. Whoa. This is all alleged. This is not me. This is what they said. Okay? Don't freak out on me. So she knows she profited. She knows exactly how much she profited to the penny. Apparently, she said that to Krista Lamas. When Krista was in Mexico, Krista Lamas was in Mexico with Kelly Dodd and told Kelly Dodd that she can't go to parties, etc. No. This is wrong. Megan was in Mexico with Kelly Dodd and said to Kelly Dodd, well, I can't go to parties of yours if Heather's there. Obviously, like it's a little weird. So Kelly Dodd apparently told Megan Weaver just this like last week, you should text Heather and just be like, should we meet? Should we just kind of work this out? And Heather McDonald responded just one word, no. Jeff seems to think that she's jumping into the Brandy and Julie thing for also Patreon. I'm not going to get into that. I don't know. I think she had a relationship with Brandy and Julie. He thinks it's despicable to profit off of your friends. He doesn't like the fact, and this is tricky, you guys, because I have a Patreon, right? Like a lot of us creators have Patreons, and I love you guys on my Patreon. But if I had like major drama and it was a public feud and it was with, I'm just going to bring up Sarah from Jeff Lewis Obsessed, who is a good friend of mine. So there's no beef, but we were always saying like we should have beef just to like see how crazy it would get. If Sarah from Jeff Lewis Obsessed put it out on her free live that she does every day about the drama between Donna and I. And then I responded by saying, come over to Patreon. And there I'll respond. It does feel a little bit weird. It doesn't feel like we're fighting on an even playing ground. When you have a platform and you have a free platform, I mean, Juicy Scoop Obsessed is a huge show, you guys. It's always like top charts in terms of comedy and stuff. You have a huge platform. it feels a little strange that you can't go out on your public free platform to respond. If I were Heather, I would have. I told you guys that last week. I said, you better, like if she's smart, she will not do this on Patreon. She will respond to Justin Martindale on her free show on Thursday, but she didn't. She responded on Patreon. And it doesn't leave a good taste in people's mouth. I'm just going to be honest. Now, today's episode, someone just mentioned, I was surprised she didn't mention anything today. Well, today's episode, she had Fortune Feimster on. I did not listen, but I'm pretty sure they recorded before the weekend. Like, I'm pretty sure they recorded way before this drama kind of broke down. Not way before, because I'm sure it's about like some pretty, up to speed topics, but it's a little bit interesting. Now, Jeff did, and another comment says, please, Jeff's entire career has been profiting off his personal drama and beef his entire career. Absolutely. And Jeff admits this. But Jeff doesn't then say, like, he has a show, right? He has a platform, he has a show, and everything goes on the show. If we subscribe to Sirius, obviously, it's not a personal Patreon where he's making that $18 or whatever we're paying for the year or however much Sirius pays or charges. But Jeff puts it all out there. One thing we can all agree on is that Jeff puts it all out there on that show. He doesn't have an additional like subscription base just for his drama. Does that make sense? He says it all on that show. We know everything about his life. We know everything about his beef. We know it all. Like today was crazy. He released it all though. He wasn't like, hey, if you guys want to hear something, spend more $5 and I'll tell you, right? Okay. So that's just what is a little off-putting to some of these people about the Patreon thing. He said that I listened to our emergency Patreon. It felt very vague and hard to follow. And his thought was that maybe she was scared to use Jeff Lewis's name and Justin Martindale's name for fear of defamation and like legalities. But then he said, and speaking of lawsuits, he said that Heather McDonald has been a bad friend to Krista. She borrowed diamond pave hoop earrings in April. Now, diamond hoop earrings that were $10,000. I don't know actually if it was $10,000. Someone said $10,000 on the show. I don't remember. And she hasn't returned them. This is back in April. In an Insta story when she was in St. Bart's with Kelly Dodd, apparently you can see an earring fall out of the ear. Krista has been trying to get them back for 1 month. And Heather McDonald has not called her back for over a month. Now, this is crazy because Kelly Dodd texted Jeff during the show and said she specifically lost them in St. Bart's and didn't care enough to go back to that beach to try to find them. Kelly Dodd threw Heather McDonald under the bus on the show. This was crazy. Now, I reached out to Krista this morning and we spoke. And Krista has received a message from Heather today saying, I'll pay you back. So whatever Jeff did to bring it to light did at least get Krista her money back. So it did work. Okay. Then it got, you guys. There was this post circulating all over Facebook this weekend, okay? And it's an old post. I don't know the dates. I am not part of Juicy Scoop Obsessed, so I can't find it. I have no idea when this post was written. But it is a post. You guys all have probably seen this. And I want to try to find it right now, but I also don't want to be too, as you guys say, multitasking. But I'm so interested to know what when this post was actually written. But there is a post that is circulating all over Facebook and these groups that is a post from Heather McDonald writing to her whole group of Juicy Scoop Obsessed. And Jeff reads this post out loud on his show. And this post is essentially saying, I saw today in the group that you guys were talking about who should replace Andy Cohen if he needs to be replaced. And I can't believe that not one of you guys picked me. Do you know how hard I work? Do you know how hard I do this? Do you know how long da 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 da? I mean, it is a crazy, embarrassing post. Okay. It's an embarrassing ass post. Jeff Lewis not only read it out loud, but then he said he sent it to Andy Cohen. The way I died of awkwardness for Heather. He sent the post to Andy Cohen and he said, maybe you should wait another 13 years before you get her back on your show. Oh, that is a low move. That is a petty ass bitch move. I also want you guys to know this. I am not in any way like condoning any of this. I know like on my Facebook group, it's like, seems so mean. This feels so bullying. Like, and you guys are all salivating over it. Yeah, we're salivating. I've never had more people in my TikTok live. I have 330 people here live. It's crazy. It's crazy that we're seeing this play out live. It doesn't feel like normal, like behavior. It's insane. But he sent it to Andy Cohen. He continued on. Okay. I mean, Doug Budin couldn't believe it. He said that there's no way that's real about that Andy Cohen post because it's like that bad, you guys. It's really bad. And like I said, I think it was a few years ago. So it's not, but I don't think Jeff knew that. And he was like, this feels unstable, you know? They talked about paying guests. Apparently, Justin Martindale, by the way, has spoken to Jeff Lewis and will be a guest on Jeff Lewis Live on September 27th. Justin Martindale told Jeff that a couple current or former, who knows, Jeff, Juicy Scoop guests have reached out to Jeff and say, wait, or to Justin, how much have you gotten paid? Like, because I'm not getting paid or whatever. So Jeff was really going at every little angle to try to take Heather down today. It was a lot, you guys. I'm not even saying it all. It was a lot. But then Jeff said something that is very important. He said, I'm hurt. And this is where you guys have to remember, Jeff Lewis he's a dick. He's a jerk. He's petty. But he's sensitive. They all are. And he is like, I am hurt. I am hurt because I've been friends with her for years. And I have never, ever felt like I deserve this. I've been nothing but a good friend. I've always had so much fun with her. Stu and I have had so much fun. Whenever we see her at a party, we get so excited. This is a bummer. But I don't believe, and he mentioned Pole's coffee reading, which basically said that you're going to have 3 women, like volcanoes, essentially. And he goes, I don't believe I can be friends with someone like this. I don't believe I can be friends with someone who, speaks badly about me when to my face, she's my friend. And Jeff, one thing about Jeff that we do know is that Jeff is not, I don't think Jeff's fake. I think Jeff says it exactly like it is, like to the point of like, ooh, there's no fakeness with Jeff. So I think it will be interesting to see what happens. He mentioned, I never looked at us, even though we are competition, technically, because we're both radio shows. I never looked at us as competition. He said exactly what I said yesterday, that Jeff's show is not about, the same things that Heather's shows are about. It's very different. And, that being said, I will say this. On my Facebook group, a couple people who feel really bad for Heather are like, this did not warrant this. I want you guys to remember this, and I've spoken to many people in the podcast industry. You do not dish it to people like Justin Martindale or Jeff Lewis, people that have platforms and are loud, unless you know it's coming back at you. There is no way, after Heather McDonald knowing Jeff for 30 years, there is absolutely no way that she didn't think or know that he was going to come back. Did she think he was going to come back this hard? Maybe not. But there's no way that she didn't, because she always says, and she said this on the show of when she spoke about Megan on her Patreon, she said, I needed to get ahead of it because I know that you're going to go on that show on Monday morning, Jeff, and you're going to talk about it. There's no way Heather thought this was not going to be part of today's show, right? I just don't know how far it was. Like I don't know if she knew it was going to be this far, but it sounds to me like this is a non-repairable rift. I think both Heather and Jeff are so similar in certain ways, and they will have issues with friends throughout their lives. I think both of them have proven that. Jeff admitted that. He's like, I always have drama with my friends. Like, this is not, I'm not saying that I'm, innocent here. Heather is in a situation right now. And I don't really know how she comes back. She will come back. I think everyone does come back. I don't know how she comes back to this. If I were her, well, I would call Molly McPherson. I've said this 100 times. I would call TikTok's PR guru Molly McPherson, because this is like a big PR crisis, right? We have a huge crisis. If you're someone like a Heather McDonald right now, you're in crisis. Heather is in a situation where friends are turning, or former friends are turning, that have huge platforms. And Jeff feels like, Jeff did not hold back, and there's a lot of overlap. Look, I mean, I'm just talking about Jeff Lewis and Heather McDonald, and my TikTok is exploding with live people. And I know that that's the way this works. People are very, very interested in Jeff and Heather. So this is a huge PR crisis for Heather. I want to say something a little bit about what happened to me over the weekend with Heather. I'm not going to be able to give you like too much scoop, but I just want you guys to know. I've mentioned on this show multiple times that I've reached out to Heather over the months, like over the last 6 to 8 months. I've reached out to her, DMs like, hey, let's collaborate. I would love if you want to do something together. Like, we have a lot of the same fans. And she never has responded to a DM. Now, I'm not going to fault her on that. People like Heather McDonald probably get so many DMs. Okay. I'm not faulting her on that. I did try to join Juicy Scoop Obsessed, which was her Facebook group, probably back in March. And my request just sat there like unanswered. She never let me in. I don't know if she let people in or not, but she never let me in. I just sat there and all I could do was cancel a request. She must have listened to my show when I mentioned this, because yesterday I'm at my friend's barbecue, a few rosés in, having so much fun, and I got a DM from Heather. Okay. And her DM said something along the lines of, I have not let new people into Juicy Scoop Obsessed for a long time. And I have not, because I mentioned that people are sending me screenshots of her Juicy Scoop Obsessed where they're talking very badly about me. People are talking very badly about me. And it is, it's not a nice feeling to know that people are just like going into her huge group and I can't even get in, and they're just talking back, like whatever. So she responded, she said to me, I'm just going to read it out loud because this is not bad or anything. She said, oh, Lolo says, no, I just was in 2 months ago. So maybe she isn't letting certain people in or whatever. She goes, hi, FYI, I haven't allowed any new people into Juicy Scoop for months. If you had answered the question correctly prior to that, you would have been allowed in. So she says for months, she has not let people in. But if you had answered, you know how like when you try to join a Facebook group, they ask you a question. So I answered it correctly. I mean, it's basically asking like on her podcast opening, what does it say after it says, listen in, listen up, listen in, or whatever. And it's, Heather McDonald's got the Juicy Scoop, obviously. Okay. I've never allowed a negative post about you. If there was a comment inside a post, I do not monitor comments. Just wanted you to know, Heather McDonald. I said, I said, no, the first time I answered whoop whoop, I did. I answered whoop whoop. I did, but I didn't get let in. So then I tried to get into that Facebook page last night. I still have not been allowed in. We'll see what happens. And I'm just going to say this. I responded and this is what I responded word for word. I said, thank you and hi. I would love to connect with you. I have been a fan of yours, and there is this weird narrative that I am dragging you, and it is the total opposite. Let me know what you think. XX. She said, okay, I'm sorry, guys. She said, we can talk sometime. I don't want to be quoted. I want this to end. I said, let's get on a call. I gave her my number. We'll see what happens. I don't know if I'll be able to speak to Heather McDonald. I think she's got a few big fish to fry right now. But I am feeling, I'm feeling stressed out for all the parties. Will this increase Heather McDonald's numbers for her Thursday show? Yes. Will it increase Jeff Lewis's numbers for tomorrow's show? Yes, again. That's the thing, you guys. That's the thing. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that feels uncomfortable, because normally this shit happens behind the scenes. But the fact that they're all playing it out so publicly, it's a train wreck situation where it feels like we can't turn away, but at the same time, it feels bad. The whole thing feels bad. I feel for Heather. I also feel for Jeff. I feel like I kind of feel like bad for all of them, I don't really specifically know what's next from all of them, but I think if I were their PR reps, I would say one final thing, and I would not talk about it again. I would not talk about it again. If I were Heather, I would mention it on her free show on Thursday. Mention it on the free show. Talk about it. And this is my suggestion. She won't listen to me probably, but if I would show vulnerability. I think there's some magic in showing vulnerability in life. And like when Jeff said today, yeah, Jeff came out swinging, but when he said, I am hurt, I am sad, that means a lot. Now we know Jeff, when Jeff gets hurt, he has no impulse control. He says whatever the hell he wants to say. And it's not necessarily smart all the times that he does this. How many times have we seen this before? How many times have we watched him on Flipping Out, losing his shit? But I think it's important to say, I'm hurt. This is horrible. I'm sad. He also mentioned that she did text Megan. She said no to Megan about getting together. And then over the weekend at some point, I think on Sunday, she did text Megan again and say, I'll be in your neck of the woods. Should we get together? And Jeff is wondering about the timing. I just really wish, it's uncomfortable. It feels like when mom and dad are fighting. And it's crazy that this started with Justin Martindale and Heather, and it became a Jeff Lewis and Heather war. It's just sad. It's weird. It's sad. And you know what? This industry is too small. This industry is too small. So I hope for Heather that she comes back with a self-awareness about a lot of this, because you do have to think, if a lot of people are saying the same things, is there any truth here? I think Jeff Lewis, I will say one thing, if you listen to his show, even today, even after he was saying horrible things, he was like, I'm flawed. Like, I also don't get along with everyone. I also air my dirty laundry. I also, like, it's very, very, Jeff is self-aware in a weird, weird way. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts? This is all we're talking about today, because how can you talk about anything else? I feel bad for both. I feel like it's scorned friends. It doesn't feel good. I hope for both of them that, I don't think they should be friends, because this is just not a good situation. But I hope for both of them they can make it out and survive, and hold on to the few friends that you have, and keep your circle freaking small. You don't need to be friends with everyone and anyone. Trust a small circle. I have a small circle of girlfriends. And I think that that is like the smartest thing I ever did. Because anytime I used to be part of a big group, shit would go down. When you're part of a big group where everyone's friends with everyone, people turn. It's dangerous, you know? Amy says, don't be sad. They'll make tons of money and be fine. True, but is money everything? Is money like all we want in our lives? You know? So Jeff Lewis Obsessed, I'm shouting her out. Jeff Lewis Obsessed posted on her Instagram today. Make sure to go over there and say I sent you. She posted the Instagram story of the earring falling out of Heather when she was dancing at the beach in St. Bart's. It's interesting to see. It's interesting to see the drama unfold. I'm curious what will happen. I really do believe that, yeah, I'm curious what will happen. And we'll be watching just like Andy Cohen wants us to do. Go to Jeff Lewis Obsessed live. Yes, she goes live at 12. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Daily Dose of Donna. You dosers are killing the game. Make sure to comment below and let me know your thoughts. Subscribe. And of course, if you're listening to the audio podcast, make sure to give it 5 stars and leave it a nice review. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for sticking around for the technical difficulties. And I'm just here to report what happened. This is not an opinion based episode. I do have some opinions, obviously, and I shared them, but I'm here to bring you guys the tea. See you tomorrow, dosers. Have an amazing Tuesday.